Welcome to D for Delegate Success. We don't just want to delegate tasks to people, we want to delegate success to people. That implies doing something which will clarify their work. We do that with the RACI Matrix. The RACI Matrix will greatly boost the clarity in your organization and therefore the success that people will achieve by doing tasks. So it's not just about giving them the task, it's about giving them a way to become successful. Let's dive in. Deciding what to do is as important as deciding what not to do. What to work on is important because that is what brings us closer to our goals. But it's as important, if not even more, to know what is waste and where we shouldn't put our effort and energy on. And that is what the RACI Matrix also does, because you are deciding which people should not be involved in certain topics, and therefore you're giving them more time and a calmer mind because there are less topics for them to manage. Now, did you ever ask yourself these following questions? For example, have there been situations where tasks fell through because there was uncertainty about ownership? Or are there decisions in the organization being delayed because it's unclear who has the final say, or because too many people are involved in every decision? Or third, how much time do you and your team spend on resolving conflicts that arise from tasks, ownership, or decision-making authority? Question this. Pause the video and question yourself this, whether or not you've ever questioned yourself this and what you would answer on those questions. Now, I already mentioned that this video is about RACI. Now, what is RACI? RACI stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consultant, and Informed. But it's much more than that, just that. RACI is a system to divide all your work areas that are sitting in larger projects over all its members. Yeah? So it is a system that has usually been used for projects, but smaller organizations, less than 100 people, they are operating very similar as large projects. That's why the RACI framework, originally used in project management, is very applicable for my clients, for smaller organizations below 100 people. Now, why would you care about RACI? It's all about ownership. We want to give people the chance to have ownership over something. That brings clarity because it avoids confusion. That optimizes the use of resources and it avoids these unnecessary conflicts. Now, what does the letters stand for? In the deeper sense of the word, responsible, I call that the executor. That is anyone who executes on projects, on tasks, and responsibility is more task-driven than end result-driven. Also, responsibility could be shared over multiple people. There can be a shared responsibility. You probably heard this word before, shared responsibility. That's okay because you can collaborate, in other words, work together on executing on something. Okay, so remember, the executor is responsible. Then we have accountable. I call that the commander. That's usually, but not always, usually a manager or a director or even an owner. Okay? Accountability is more end result driven than it is task driven. An accountable person usually does not execute. That's the responsible person. It might happen though. The accountable person has the yes or no veto. Okay, so if it's a no from the accountable person, from the commander, it doesn't happen. Yeah? There can only be one person accountable for each business area. We'll come to that in a bit, business areas and work areas. But an accountable person can also be responsible. So they can have a shared role. They can be the commander and they can be the executor. And then we have consultant. This is the C in the word RACI. I call that the navigator. Why? Because the navigator is somebody with a level of authority in the business who gets involved into the decision making of whatever is going on within the task or the project. That is usually a person with an expertise in an area who can really make a difference in the outcome. So that person doesn't have the veto, but he or she definitely participates. The navigator participates in the decision making, and you would really question yourself whether you're doing the right thing by neglecting the advice of the navigator, okay? Because the navigator has been there before and knows where to go and what not to do. Consultant could be shared over multiple people, yeah, but it's usually centered around an area of expertise. That's what you need to remember about the navigator. Then we have informed. I call that the communicator. Those are usually other team members who are directly or indirectly actually involved, and they need to be kept up to speed, in the loop, right? It could be even a customer or an external company or project. Yeah? Informed is used to keep people in the loop, as I said. And I call it a communicator because you don't want to spread the message to everyone. You want to spread in message. You want to inform people who have then a responsibility to communicate this further throughout the organization. Okay, so you want to choose to communicate, to inform people from whom you know that they bring the message further. Okay, in some instances though, you will have a full communication to everybody. Okay, but then there's still the communicators, because the communicator is the one that holds the message. And that's why I think that the I in RACI, we should call it the communicator, so that we know that that's the person who holds the information. Yeah? That's what RACI stands for. Now here you have level 1 of RACI. This is very simplified RACI, okay? We have, for example, this is the business area of finance. And Jane is accountable for finance. Under the business area of finance, we have accounting, we have customer invoicing, we have financial reporting, and we have expenses. And here you can see how this organization assigned different names to the different business areas and work areas. Okay, so John is responsible for accounting, Jane is accountable for accounting. Accounts LLC, which is the accounting firm, is to be consulted, and Jack is to be informed. Okay, now, customer invoicing is Jelly is responsible, Jane is accountable, Jolly is consultant, and Jose is informed. Okay, let's stop here a bit. Let's break this down, okay? We have business areas. That is a larger piece of the organization with a broader focus. In this example, that's the finance area. We call that then the finance RACI, okay? But under the finance, since finance itself is a very broad area, we have what we call work areas. That is a more concentrated, task-specific zone within the organization. Take, for example, expenses. You can already think about, okay, what sits under the expenses. Yeah? So that's how we break down the RACI into business area and work areas. Most companies do this level of RACI because it is often more than enough to go into this level of details. Some companies, though, would love to go deeper, and that is where level 2 comes in, RACI on a deeper level. That's where the work area, in this example, expenses, is being broken down into the major tasks, okay? This is applicable to you if you want to break down a work area into several tasks that might require different responsibility or accountability. So let's take an example here. We have approving orders. That's responsible Jane, accountable Jane, consulted Jimmy, but nobody informed. Okay? Then we have manage payments. We have responsible Jelly, accountable Jane, and consulted Jose. So when you see there's a difference between who's being involved and who has the ownership, then it makes sense to go for level 2 in RACI. This is 20% of companies go this level. Okay? What you also need to remember is when you go down into the major tasks in level 2, then you are only defining the accountability on the work area, and you define the deeper level responsibility consultant informed on the major task area. Okay? So if you stay with level 1, business area, work area, you do the RACI there. When you decide to go for level 2 and you take the major task, you do the RACI in the major tasks. Okay? Keep that in mind. That's important for your decision later on when you're going to do the exercises. Now, once you have identified your company's RACI, then the best practice is to build that in your wiki or in your workflow management tool. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you some examples that will speak for itself how this more or less will look like. Okay? Here you have an example of a company that decided to put it into Asana. Okay? You can see here we have the business area, we have the work area, and we have all the names responsible and accountable that are connected to those specific areas. Okay? Then there's another client, for example, that built it into RACI. They built RACI into Notion. That was actually a client who went even into the major task level. And you don't see that here in the specific screenshot, but they would be able to open up each and every level here, and there would be an overview of all the major tasks. Now, what's also what I've seen is companies that have their own wiki system, and they built this into their wiki, and everything here is clickable. So when you go deeper on everything, you can see that there's even an explanation of what the specific topic is about, the work area, the business area, and who is actually responsible, accountable, consultant, and so forth. This is next level. This is very cool. I think that every company should have this best practice. But to start in your Asana, your Notion, your ClickUp, your Monday, is absolutely a good enough of a start to get this rolling throughout the company, because it does take a couple of months to really roll this out effectively in your business. Now, next up is Miro board action drill on the RACI Matrix. So go there, and you will be guided by the videos that will make you execute on these exercises. If you have any questions to this video, let me know, and good luck.